Greetings there everybody, welcome to another Knife Guy channel. My name is Ashton and today we're going to be taking a look at the Civivi Knives Naja, in Damasteel. That's right, coming out with some Damasteel now. Pretty stuff. Alright, so first off let's get into some size comparisons. We're going to do the usual rat number 1 and the rat number 2. So you can see that it's right in the size range of the rat 1 here with a tiny bit extra in the, well maybe not, kind of the pretty much that same size range. And Shaman, here it is against the Shaman M4 and the Native. So again, we're looking at a bigger blade here, not really going to be for the people into smaller knives there. And here it is against a couple of mid-ranged EDCs. Mid-range in size. So as you can see, it's also coming in just a tad larger there. But we do have a nice wide blade, kind of like the Spidey Chef, with about the same amount of cutting edge it looks like. So the Naja was one of the first Civivis that they released back when they started putting out knives, I think in early 2018 maybe. And there was the Praxis and the Backlash as well. And then they've released several other models, steadily increasing their price point. And now they're at the $75 range, and they have released, along with some Isham designs that are coming out, their baseline in Damasteel. So the Damasteel here is actually Damasteel. Maybe it's a Chinese variant, but it is, for all intents and purposes, Damasteel. Look at that. You know, I talked with Elliot from Fair and Forged Knife Works. He does a lot of work with Wii knives, and as we all know, Civivi is a budget brand of Wii. And I sent him a picture of this blade on Instagram, and he just was like, yep, Damasteel. So, you know, as we all know, Elliot from Fair and Forge is a steel nerd, just like a lot of us are, and that kind of makes this a very, very compelling option. It's really competitive with all your other Damascus knives in that price range. This is coming in at 75 bucks. Which I think is still a value. Now, I have done a couple of modifications, as you can see. You may recognize those gold liners, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, let's get into, oh, I'm sorry. Another thing about this blade is that when you disassemble the knife, you'll notice that on the detent ball path, it's not stained. Like these darker patches don't appear. And then inside the bearing races on the blade side, it's also not stained. So the Damasteel does not affect the action in the stained portions, which is really great. This knife has a fantastic action. So let's get into the pros and cons of this. You know, to start off first with the pros, the blade. The blade is fantastic. It's beautiful. Look at it. It's got a really nice reflectivity. It's got a brilliant pattern of Damasteel there on both sides. You know, kind of like almost like a raindrop pattern up here, and then down to a zebra-like pattern at the bottom there. Back of this blade is actually very interesting looking. It goes all the way, and even in the choil there, although the camera won't focus, but yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful blade. The ergonomics as well are another pro of this knife for sure. It's got a very hand-filling, palm-filling handle here. So in my large size hands, I just pretty much have a standard large size hand, maybe a little bit smaller than a large size glove. But for me, I have a lot of extra room down here, so people with much larger hands than me can actually get a full-sized purchase on this knife, and don't have to be scared about that hook on the end. You also have a forward finger choil here that works for me with my long skinny fingers and provides a lot of stability when going through material or executing a nice choked up cut like that. Another thing that's great is, like I said, the action. Oh, again, we also have a thumb ramp on the spine here, so if you want to choke back and do a kind of a saber grip, it's really good for that. The action is amazing. As you can see, it's kind of it's a false shut. You know, it didn't come that way out of the box, but you know, now that I have done this scale swap, I actually changed the liners out on my original, and it has made this knife amazing and this knife subpar. So with that, let's get into the cons. This action is amazing. This action is kind of loose. The detent is very weak on the black liners, at least on the model I got. These black liners came stock with this Civivi along with the hardware here, and I had and the pocket clip, and I definitely have a couple of things to say about that in the cons section, which is right now. Basically, the QC on Civivi knives has perhaps fallen a little bit now that they've kind of ramped up production and are sort of going into the higher price points. The only other Civivi that I've had besides these two Najas was an Anthropos, and I did a review on the Anthropos. I didn't really like the way the video came out, so I buried it. And you know, the thing about the Anthropos that I didn't like was the ergonomics, the detent being super weak, and just the kind of feel of it. It didn't feel like the Naja that I got out of box that very first time. Maybe I just got a really great example of the Naja. I'm going to say it wrong a bunch, but it really was probably the best liner lock I had ever experienced at the time. This knife, now that I've done the scale or the liner mod, it's fantastic. The detent may be a little bit strong. The centering is a little bit off there, but maybe I think I might have switched a bearing, a ball bearing race when I was doing the reassembly, so that might be because of that. But even still, this knife is just amazingly smooth and amazingly snappy. This one, you can without hitting the tripod, you can flick it out quite easily. And although the blade is really well done, they actually did a straight edge here as opposed to, ooh, that was not nice, the recurve. There's a slight recurve in this blade. As you can see, there's a straight edge there and a recurve there. So I don't know what it was, but the first run of the Civivi knives that came out, even the hardware, I had to switch out the hardware as well. I was considering keeping the black hardware, but the black hardware is not, it's taken some damage there, as you can see. That's actually a T9. It comes with a T8. I had to squeeze it out to a T9. But this hardware has held up amazingly well, even with several disassemblies. And you know, I really wish they kind of kept their production quality the same as they did on their first run. Like I said, I haven't handled a bunch, so if you've handled a lot of Civivis and you've kind of noticed the same thing starting out, variance in the quality of the detent and the quality of the materials, then let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that was definitely something that I had to do pretty much as soon as I got the stock one out of box. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a liner swap, see if that fixes the detent. If you have one of the Damasteel Najas, let me know in the comments if you had a snappy detent or a weak detent, and if you have a baseline Civivi Naja, if you did a liner swap like I did. I honestly think this looks a lot better than the black. It kind of gives the gold a little bit of a pop. You know, it makes the knife look a little classier. People definitely ask questions when you pull this out to spread cream cheese on your bagel. It's a conversation piece for sure. One of my favorite knives now that I've done the scale swap. But when I didn't, you know, this knife is definitely a beater now. It still has a nice action. It still falls shut, bounces on the close because the detent is not as strong. There's no play in the detent though. But yeah, so that's definitely a con. The QC coming out now, especially if they're, you know, especially since they're charging a higher price point, I really wish that they would, you know, kind of handle the QC a little bit better coming out of the factory. All right, let's see what else we got. Final conclusions, I guess. You know, the Naja is definitely my favorite Civivi that has come out. And I'll be keeping these two in my collection. This one's definitely going to be getting some use here. The 9CR on the base models is a great steel. They do it really well. It's beautiful when it's out of the box. And the Damasteel that they have is really nice. It sharpens up easily. It's a really nice blade. It looks amazing. Probably one of the prettiest knives in my collection. Even though it is kind of a budget model at 75 bucks. But yeah, so if you have a baseline Civivi, and I think they're going to be doing this with their baseline. They've just announced that along with the new Isham design, which looks pretty interesting. It's a smaller design. They're also going to be releasing the Praxis, I believe, in Damasteel, and you know, I might jump on that actually. I might grab one and grab a base model too, and see if I have to do a scale swap, because I do like the Damasteel that's coming out of Wii right now, or Civivi. So yeah, 75 bucks. If the QC is not good on yours, then I'd send it back, and you know, if you get it at Blade HQ, just have them once over it if they can, or if you get one with a bad detent and you have a, you know, base model Civivi, just go ahead and do a liner swap. I think that would be, you know, that would serve you well. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Civivis are great knives, great in the budget category. If you don't have one already, you should go pick one up and be wowed. But anyway, thanks for tuning in again. Give the channel a like, smash that subscribe button, as they say, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.